But we all, with open face beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image, from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Read that again, slowly, because most believers pass over this verse. The way they pass over a field, they have walked 1,000 times, never noticing what is growing beneath the surface. Paul is not describing a future hope only, he is describing something happening to you right now, in this present hour. Glory to glory. Not glory someday. Not glory once you die. Glory to glory. Which means there is a glory you are already carrying, and there is a glory still coming that will finish what has already begun. By the end of this teaching, you will understand not only what that word glory truly meant in the original tongue, but also why Moses had to veil his face after meeting with God, and what that veil is quietly teaching you about your own life today. You will understand not only how this transformation is happening to you in secret, in the ordinary hours no one is watching, but also why it so rarely feels like glory while it is happening. You will understand not only the difference between the glory Scripture says you already carry and the glory Scripture says is still to come, but also why confusing the two has left so many believers discouraged in seasons that were never meant to discourage them. You will understand not only what Paul meant by being changed from glory to glory, but also what the Greek word behind changed, metamorphoo, reveals about the kind of transformation God is doing in you, and why it is nothing like self-improvement. You will understand not only how this present glory connects to the promise of your future glorified body, but also why 2 Corinthians 3 and Philippians 3 were never meant to be read as separate promises, but as one unfolding story. And you will understand, perhaps most tenderly of all, why the very ordinariness of your life, the waiting, the faithfulness no one applauds, the quiet obedience, may be the clearest evidence that this glory is already at work in you. Before we go further, I want to invite you to do something simple. If this word glory stirs something in you even now, even before we have begun to unfold it, type the word glory in the comments below. Just that. Let it be your quiet declaration that you are ready to see what the Lord wants to show you today. There is a reason Paul chose a mirror to describe this, and there is a reason he chose Moses' veiled face to explain what happens when that mirror is taken away. That is where we begin. There is a particular kind of tiredness that comes not from what we carry, but from feeling as though we have nothing worth carrying at all. Many believers who have walked with the Lord for decades know this feeling well. The fire that once burned bright in youth has settled into something quieter, and quiet, to a tired heart, can feel like absence. But Paul was writing to people who felt exactly this way, and he took them back to a moment in the wilderness that most of us read quickly, without ever asking what it truly meant. In Exodus 34, after Moses had spent 40 days in the presence of God, he came down the mountain, and his face shone. It shone so brightly that the people were afraid to come near him. So Moses did something we rarely stop to consider. He put on a veil. Paul returns to this moment in 2 Corinthians 3 and tells us something remarkable, that Moses veiled his face not only because the people were afraid, but because that glory was fading. Verse 13 says he did not want Israel to see the end of what was passing away. That word matters. Fading. The glory Moses carried was real, but it was borrowed. It came from being near God, and when the nearness ended, the glory began, slowly, to dim. This is where Paul makes his turn, and it is worth sitting with. He says that what we carry under the new covenant is not a fading glory reflected from a mountaintop meeting. It is a glory that remains, because the Spirit of the Lord does not visit us and depart the way he visited Moses. He dwells. I have come to believe this is one of the most overlooked comforts in all of Scripture. You are not shining because of a mountaintop experience from 30 years ago that has since grown dim. You are not living off a memory of a revival service, a camp meeting, a moment of surrender that now feels distant. The glory Paul describes is not behind you, fading like Moses' face. It is present tense. It is spirit-sustained. It does not need a mountain to renew it, because it was never borrowed in the first place. Think of it this way: a field that is watered only once, by a passing rain, will green for a season and then dry out under the sun. But a field fed by a spring beneath it, a hidden source that never stops flowing, stays green long after the rain has ended, even in years of drought. Moses' glory was rain. What you carry, dear friend, is a spring. This is why Paul can say, with such settled confidence, we all, with open face, no veil, nothing hidden, nothing borrowed. He is telling weary believers, the very kind of believer watching this right now, who wonders if the brightest days of their faith are behind them, that the glory is not behind you. It is beneath you, and it is still rising. Stay with me here, because what comes next may be the very thing that reframes years of striving. Paul chose his words with precision. When he says we are changed from glory to glory, the word behind changed is the Greek word metamorphoo. You have likely heard its root before. Even outside of Scripture, it is where we get the word metamorphosis, and that word was never used casually in the ancient world. It described a change from the inside out, not a change applied from the outside in. Think of what that word pictures. A caterpillar does not improve itself into a butterfly. It does not try harder, discipline itself more, or work up enough willpower to sprout wings. Something happens to it, within a hidden place, that no effort on its part could produce. The change is real, the change is total, and the change is not self-generated. This matters more than it may seem at first, because so many believers, especially those who have walked with the Lord for many years, carry a quiet, exhausting belief that spiritual growth is something they must manufacture. Try harder, read more, pray longer, feel guilty when the fire seems low. And Paul, almost gently, corrects that entire framework in a single Greek word. Notice the end of the verse. Even as by the Spirit of the Lord, not by your effort, not by your willpower, by the Spirit. The transformation Paul describes is not something you are doing for God. It is something God is doing in you, and your part, remarkably, is far simpler than striving. Your part is beholding. We all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord. Beholding, not achieving, not performing. Beholding, which simply means to look at, to gaze upon, to fix your attention on something long enough that it begins to shape you. Here is where I want to be honest with you, the way I would want someone to be honest with me. This does not mean effort has no place in the Christian life. Scripture teaches discipline, obedience, discipleship, all through its pages. But it does mean that the deep transformation Paul is describing here, the glory-to-glory kind, is not produced by your striving. It is produced by your gazing. You become like what you behold. I think of a window left open toward the morning sun for years. No one tells the room to warm. No one instructs the walls to grow bright. The room simply changes, slowly, every single day, because it has stayed positioned toward the light. That is what beholding does. That is metamorphoo. This is why some of the most transformed believers I have ever known were not the ones with the most dramatic testimonies. They were the quiet ones, the ones who simply kept their face turned toward God year after year, through ordinary Tuesdays and unremarkable Sundays, through seasons no one applauded. Their glory was not loud, but it was real, and it was growing. This next part may be the very word you came looking for today, so stay with me. If metamorphoo happens slowly, in secret, through simple beholding, then here is the honest question so many of you have carried for years without saying it out loud. Why doesn't it feel like glory? You have prayed faithfully. You have stayed near the Word. You have kept your face turned toward the light, as best you know how. And yet the days often feel plain, sometimes even dry. Where is the glory in a hospital waiting room? Where is the glory in a marriage that has grown quiet? Where is the glory in caring, again, for a body or a household or a grandchild that needs you more than you have strength to give? Scripture never promises that transformation will feel glorious while it is happening. In fact, it often teaches the opposite. 2 Corinthians 4, the very next chapter, says this, "For which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day." Notice, both things happening at once, the outward wasting and the inward renewing. Paul is not describing two different seasons of life. He is describing the very same season, seen from two different angles. This is where I want to slow down. because I believe many of you have misread your own faithfulness. You have looked at a season of quiet obedience, of simply getting up, praying, trusting, showing up again, and concluded that nothing was happening because nothing felt bright. But the caterpillar, inside its hidden place, does not feel like it is becoming a butterfly. From the inside, transformation often feels like nothing more than darkness and stillness and waiting. I have come to believe this is one of the kindest mercies of the Christian life, that God does not require the feeling of glory in order to be doing the actual work of glory. Your part was never to feel transformed. Your part was to keep beholding He is faithful to do the rest, whether or not you can sense it on any given Tuesday. If you have ever wondered whether your ordinary, unremarkable faithfulness actually mattered, whether the quiet years counted for anything in heaven's eyes, I want you to hear this clearly. They counted. They are counting still. Type "still counts" in the comments if that is a word you needed today. We, dear friend, is where I want to be especially careful, because this is the point where many believers unknowingly confuse two things. Scripture actually keeps distinct. There is a glory you already carry, and there is a glory still to come. They are not the same glory, though they come from the same source, and they are not in competition with one another. They are one unfolding story, and confusing them has left many sincere Christians discouraged in seasons that were never meant to discourage them. The glory of 2 Corinthians 3, the glory to glory, the beholding, the inward renewal, this is present tense. It is happening now, in the soul, unseen. But Scripture also speaks of another glory, a future one, and Paul describes it plainly in Philippians 3, verse 21. Who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto His glorious body? Notice this is not the same transformation as Metamorphoo in 2 Corinthians 3. This is a different word for a different moment. This one is bodily, physical, final. It is not something happening slowly in secret. It is something that will happen. Scripture teaches, in an instant, at the resurrection, when what is sown in weakness is raised in power, when what is sown in corruption is raised incorruptible, as Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15. So here is the distinction, gently stated, because it matters. What Scripture explicitly promises is this: your inward man is being renewed now, day by day, by beholding, and your outward body will one day be transformed completely, fashioned like His glorious body, at the resurrection. What Scripture does not promise is that the inward glory will erase the outward weakness before that day comes. Your hands may still ache, your memory may still falter, your body may still carry the years. That is not a failure of the promise. That is simply the first half of the story, still being told. I think of a seed planted in autumn ground. All winter, nothing above the soil looks any different. The field is bare, the ground is cold, and to anyone walking past, it would seem nothing is happening at all. But beneath the surface, in the dark, in the place no one can see, the seed is already doing the quiet work that spring will one day reveal. Your inward glory, right now, is the seed doing its work beneath the surface. Your outward glory, the glorified body, the finished transformation that is the spring still coming. This is why Paul, in that same chapter of 2 Corinthians, could write, almost in the same breath as talking about wasting away for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. He is not contradicting himself. He is holding both truths at once, the way you must hold both truths at once. The inward glory sustaining you now, the outward glory awaiting you then. Stay with me here, because this may be the part that quietly changes how you see your own life. If the deepest transformation happens in secret through beholding, not performing, then it follows that the clearest evidence of this glory at work in you will rarely look dramatic. It will look ordinary. And I want to say this plainly, because I believe many of you have overlooked the very proof you were looking for. Think of the years you have kept praying, even when the answer delayed. Think of the patience you have shown a difficult family member, quietly, without anyone applauding it. Think of the mornings you opened the Word out of habit more than feeling and stayed anyway. Scripture calls this the fruit of the Spirit. In Galatians 5, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, faithfulness. Notice that word long-suffering. It is not a flashy fruit. It is a slow one. It only grows in people who have kept beholding for a long time. I have come to believe that the believer who has quietly stayed faithful for 30, 40, 50 years, who never had the dramatic testimony, who simply kept showing up, kept trusting, kept turning their face toward the light even in dry seasons, that believer is not behind in glory. That believer may be further along than they know. This is the misunderstanding I most want to correct today. Some of you have measured your spiritual life by how it feels, and concluded that because the feeling has grown quiet, the glory must have faded. But remember, Moses' glory faded because it was borrowed from a single encounter. Yours is not borrowed. It is sustained day by day by the Spirit who dwells in you and does not leave. The very quietness of your faith, the ordinariness of your obedience, may be the clearest sign that the transformation is no longer an event you are chasing. It has become the settled shape of your life. If that is true for you, if you have kept faithful in the quiet, unnoticed places, I want to invite you to type "still faithful" in the comments, not to boast, simply to bear witness for someone else scrolling past who needs to see that quiet, unremarkable faithfulness is not wasted. It never has been. So, let us bring this home, gently, the way this truth deserves. You are not waiting for glory to begin. It has already begun. The moment the Spirit came to dwell in you, the veil was already lifted, and the slow, hidden work of Metamorphoo started, whether you felt it or not. You are not manufacturing this transformation through striving. You are simply asked to keep your face turned toward Him, to keep beholding, in prayer, in the Word, in worship, in the ordinary obedience of another faithful day. And one day, Scripture does not tell us exactly when, only that it will be sudden. In the twinkling of an eye, the glory that has been growing in secret will meet the glory that is still to come. The inward renewal and the outward resurrection will become one finished work. What was sown in weakness will be raised in power. What was hidden will be revealed. And the very glory you have been carrying, quietly, faithfully, unseen, will finally be seen, in a body that will never fade, never tire, never wait again. Until that day, dear friend, keep beholding, not striving, beholding. That is the whole of it. He is faithful to do the changing from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. If this word met you where you are today, I would ask two small things. First, if there is someone in your life walking through a quiet, unnoticed season, a caregiver, a widow, someone who has simply kept faithful without applause, would you send this to them? They may need to hear that their glory has not faded. And second, if you are new here, consider staying with us. This is Secrets of Heaven, and we are walking this road together toward the fullness of what God has already begun in you. Until next time, may His glory rest on you, and may you rest in His.